Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Sanhedrin Daf Lamed. We are going to begin on the very last line on Chavtes Amud Beis. Hahi Odisa. There was this Shtar Hodah, which we were learning about before, that if a person admits that they owe money, so it can already be written down. So it's possible, as we saw in yesterday's daf, you could say Meshatani Bach. I was just jesting with you. So the Havi Kasabe was written on this Dochron Piskame, that this is a recording or remembrance of words, as we continue Lamed Aleph, V'chol Lishni de Beidina, and all the language of Beis Din, says Rashi, V'lo hayu chasumin el shnayim. It was only two people that signed it. V'lo Havi Kasaba was not written, but Maisav Tlasa Havina V'chad Lisohi, that it was actually done in the presence of three, but one of them is not here. So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Ksuvis that says that when you have three people that were Mekayim Shtar, that one of them dies, so what's necessary is you need to write, there was actually three, but one of them is not with us. So this was not done. So Sabra Ibn Omeimar had a Reish Lakish. I thought this is the same thing as Reish Lakish, says Rashi. The Omer Chazachin Beis Kaisin Shtar Ella Kedas Ukahalacha Vahani Vadi Tlasahavi. Even though it doesn't say there was three, but we could understand it must be that there was three, because we would never find Beis would write a star unless everything was done properly. Rav Nasan Bar Ami Haki Amrin Mishmeda Rava. This is what's said in the name of Rava. Kol Ki Haigavna. All in this situation, we are concerned that it could be the Beis made a mistake. Says Rashi, Svarin Shahayu Shnaim Ksherim Ladain. Maybe they thought two people are kosher to judge, and therefore we're not just going to assume that there was three people. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak Ikasaba, but if it does say the words Beidina, says Rashi Hakol Yodim Shein Shnaim Karim Beis Din. We don't call a Beis Din two; it must be three. So Suloit Sarch, you don't have to worry anymore. V'delma Beis Chotzav who the Yamir Shmuel Shem Shadin Din Shnikar Beis Chotzav. Maybe it was only two people, because according to this opinion, you could have a Beis Din which is two people, and that counts. No, the Kasabe Beidina de Rav Ashi. So when it came to the Beis Din of Rav Ashi, you knew it was not going to be a Beis Din Chotzav. There's no way there would have been two. V'dilma Rabbanan be Rav Ashi Kishmos Virule. One second, how do you know? Maybe they do hold like him, because the Ksib boy Rabbanan Ashi V'Armin Lon Rav Na'ashi, that basically he said it, which basically means that he gave his stamp of approval. Says Rashi, Lichtayv Kach, the Rav Ashi told us to write this. Kivan, says Rashi, Dehu Hoya Sham, and he was there, Mistamul Loit Siva Livchais Mashalish Lichtayv. There's no way he would have been there and would have given us instructions without a proper Beis Din. So it's clear that it was probably done properly. Tarabam. Armulhen Echad Ani Reisi Avichem Shehit Min Mois Beshedet Amigdal. One person says, I've seen your father that he hid money in some type of a cask or some type of a barrel or some drawer. The Omer Shel Poinihain. And he also said that this money belongs to a particular person. Shel Meiser Sheni Hain, or this money is Meiser Sheni. It's supposed to be brought to Yerushalayim. So Bebayis Lomer Klum. If it's in his house, he didn't say anything. So Rashi Enu Neman Lafi Shein Biyad Litlon. It's not in his hands to have taken it. Besadid of Rav Kayaman. However, it was in the field and he's believed. Says Rashi because the Malo Shakar Im writes a Nitlon Vanas in the Oisa Shehu made of. So if he wants, if it was in the middle of the field, he could have just taken it and given to the guy himself. So therefore, he has a migu to be believed if the money is actually in the field, that this is actually what happened. Kol Shadavar, the general rule of this matter, Kol should be Yoda Nitlon, the Rav Kayaman. If it was in your hands to take it, then we're going to believe you it's a migu. And Biyada Litlon Lo Yomer Klum. If it's not in your hands, then not. Hari Shiroyas Avihem Shehit Min Mois V'Shed Migdal. Again, I saw that your father put this locked up somewhere. The Omer and the father says, Shel Ploini Hain, Shel Meiser Sheni Hain. So Im Kim Meiser Devarav Kayaman. Im Kim Moisar says Rashi, Im nir lehem, if he appears k'moiser devarav levanov, like he's giving words to his son, be'emes b'lashon savah, devarav kem, and he's believed. However, im kimarim loy omer klum. But if he just looks like he's tricking, it says Rashi Shumis Yari Shalo Yitul Machayev, so the kids don't take the money in his lifetime, and he said nothing. The person is troubled regarding leaving money, and then a Baal Chaloim comes. So he says, I know where this money is, but the money belongs to someone else. When it comes to dreams, they don't go, they're neither here nor there. You don't go up or down. Says Rashi, you can take it out from their place. So if, let's say, two say yes, one say no, so then of course we go zakai, because we go basarai. The question is, michtav hechi ksivi, what is going to be written? Rabbi Yochanan Zakai, right in the star that there was Zakai, right? Which is interesting because there's actually one person, even though Ploni was Zakai, not everyone agreed to it. That a couple of these judges said that he wins via Ploni Mechayavan. So basically spell it out, that who the two people were that favored you and one not. Rabbi Lazar Oimer Midvarehen Nizdaka Pliny. From their words, this person was acquitted. So, in other words, we don't have to say who it was, but we're just saying the truth. Not that everyone agreed to it, but that at the end of the day, you won. So it could mean the majority agreed or everyone agreed. You can say it either way. So therefore, that's the language. So the Gemara asks, okay, so these are different opinions. To my benayu, what's the nafkamis? Yikam benayu l'shlumi ihu manta b'hadaihu. Says Rashi, im to hashnayim. Let's say two of them made a mistake. V'chayaven l'shalim mebeisam, because they made a mistake in their psak. They have to give the money back. The judges themselves have to give the money back. Which we talked about. Sometimes the Mumcha, Hedjit, Tub of our Mishnah, or Tub of Sfara. Anyway, what happens if it turns out the judges have to pay back? So that's the difference. Does he have to also pay? Because this other guy didn't agree to it to begin with. All judges have to pay, even the third judge, even though he didn't agree to him. So the one who said against them doesn't have to pay, because he didn't say what they said. So the one who says that Zakai you have to pay, why does he just say, why should I have to pay? If you would have listened to me, none of you would have to pay right now. The difference is, is it going to be 2/3 or 3/3? In other words, he certainly doesn't have to pay. But the question is, do they have to pay the whole amount themselves, these other two? Or they only have to pay 2/3? They have to pay the whole thing. Instead, the last third, no one pays. Well, it's saying, the one who says that Zakai means that you have to pay the whole thing. So, why don't they say, Ilav at Bahadon, if you weren't with us, we'll have insulted dinami. Since you completed the Beis Din to become 3 people. You need 3 people. So if you were never around, we would never have paskin, and we would never have lost anything. Ella, Here's the maskana. The whole nafkamina is being a talebearer. We don't want to start saying, oh, he said this, but he disagreed. We don't want to do that. So we just say Zakai. It's better that you should say the truth, because otherwise it looks like everyone agreed, which is not the case. The third sheet holds there's this problem, both sides. Hilkach kasvi hachi midvrehim nizdaka ploini. So this way, it's not clear that all three agreed, because maybe not. Just the guy won, so maybe it won by majority. But we don't need to disclose who they were. Okay, question 5. Shnai moimrim zakav yachad omer chayiv hechi kas Rabbi Elazar omer ben Evrayim. My time Rabbi Elazar de pligi amad yamar de kas zaka amad de pligi amad yamar de yamar kissi ploini. So that's what we said. It's all totally maskana. One mandimer says you write zakai, you can't write that because mixik is shikra, and if you write ploni ploni pligi mishum osach rachil, maybe it's not good to publicize exactly who is responsible. Okay. All right. All right. Let's look at question TB10. Father's hiding money. He says most to someone else. So I wrote klal im yochel lakach et ze ba'atzmai. If you could take yourself with that one. Achen yesh hevdel im hamois bebeisai v'hu yochel likach es hamois v'hu enu yochel. O im hamois v'dugma besada v'hu yochel likach es hamois ba'atzmo shehu neman. Okay, I think that's the proper answer. So let's see. This was TB10. This is Bebayis lo emer klum. Sad the devar of kayamin. Klal shadavar kol shibiyada litlon devar of kayamin and biyada litlon lo emer klum. Okay. Weiter. Let's continue in the Gemara. 2 dots. So Gomer said din. So once the din is finished, you bring them in. Now, Laman, which party needs to go back to the base din? The two sides that are arguing, Hasam Kaimi, they're already there. El Adam, the witnesses have to come back. So come on. You cannot combine an shirush name unless they're both together. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, even if they're not together, they introduce them as kiyamas to be based in Anshi Idushtem Kiachan. They need to testify at the same time. And here's Rav Dasan. Rav Dasan Omer, Shem Devar Shul Zeh HaYoyim, Ksho Chavedo Yilmacha Shem Adas Devarab. So you can hear one testimony today, another one tomorrow. They don't even have to be anywhere nearby. So it can't be like Rav Dasan because he would not hold that the Edom need to come back. Well, we're talking about the two sides. So what they used to do in Yerushalayim, they would bring in the Baalei Dinim, they would hear their words. They would bring in the witnesses, they would go out, and the basin would discuss. They would bring them in. They would bring the Baalei Dinim in. It says they would bring the witnesses in, not the Dayanim. Now, Hahi Deloik Rav Nasan. That Shita is not like Rav Nasan. Gufa. Mr. Rafes. The testimony is not combined. You have to see them both. They have to both see the testimony at the same time. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, I feel bizarre even at different times. What's the logic? Amana de kamasid high will kamasid high. Amana de kamasid high will kamasid high. It can't be because maybe their testimony is on two different things. So they have to have two witnesses on the same thing. But maybe one person saw a person borrow 100, the other person saw a different 100. So therefore they can't combine. No, they're both basically saying that the guy owes $100. So you do have two witnesses saying that he owes $100. V'hu aid, and here's a witness. V'hu aid, o ra o yada v'tanya mamash mishnemer yakum aid. In fact, it says you cannot use one witness in yodea shehu echad. Ma talmud number echad. Why does it say aid echad? So zeb bana'am kol makam shnemer aid. Whenever it has the word aid, harikan shnam. It's actually talking about two witnesses. So it says who aid is referring to two witnesses. Ad shepardocha hakasav echad, until it says one. So aid means two. When you say aid echad, obviously the word echad is saying it's one witness. So the fact that it says who aid is two witnesses. V'yafka rachman b'lashon chad. Oh, because it goes out of its way. Remember, aid. Ad the chazur tevayach echad. It has to be ad the chazur tevayach echad. The reason why it says aid is that the two witnesses have to be like one witness, and they both have to see the whole same thing. V'idach v'hu aid ora or yadam mikol makoim. It doesn't matter. You're still a witness even if you don't see it at the same time. They have to testify, speak at the exact same time, apparently. You're going to hear their testimony on different days. So what's the argument over there? What's the logic? Ma savar. So Mar savar, one holds eid echad ki asi l'shvu asi. One witness has the ability to cause this person to make a shvuah. He cannot cause someone to lose money. The second guy, atu ki asu b'hadi adadi. Now they came together. B'chad poma kamasadi. I understand. So according to the other opinion, they're not testifying at the same time. They can't be speaking the exact same words. You have to listen to the base has to hear a set of testimony and the second testimony. So it can't happen at the same time anyway. Ella mitzdarfin lahu hachanam litzdarfinhu. They can be mitzdarf if that happens at a minute after each other or a day after each other. You're being mitzdarf the edus even though it wasn't noted at the same time. So, but according to the other opinion, if you only have one witness, one aid, he can only be a chayiv him for a shvuah. But so both separately are not being mechayiv him mammon. So that's the idea. But according to him, he says, what do you mean? It's not separate because you can't possibly give edus two people at the exact same time. Or the pasuk says, imlo yagid. If you don't say it over, then you will bear sin, as we continue the Lamed and Beis. Everyone holds like the Rabbanan, the Pligaleha, the Rabbi Yoshu and Karcha. They argues with him. So everyone, the Tanakam Rav Nosson, they all hold like him, who disagrees with Rabbi Yoshu and Karcha. Says Rashi, everyone holds that you actually have to see the testimony together. That we're going to say. And it's only V'gabi Haggadah Pligi. The actual saying over the edus is where they argue. The actual witness, the two eyewitnesses have to have seen at the same time. So they all hold like him. The hacha is ba'akushi haggadah l're'iyah k'mifagi. Do you compare seeing, which must be together, to haggadah, the testimony? Marasav makshinan haggadah l're'iyah, marasav lo makshinan. The question is just, do you make a hekesh? Certainly when it comes to seeing, everyone has to see the thing happening at the same time. Otherwise, it's maybe two separate incidents. But the question is, does the testimony also have to be that way? So it's totally if whether or not there's a hekesh. You hold the hekesh. Question 6. So if you do make this hekesh, then they both have to testify at the same time. And what is the svara? So that we already saw, right? So the svara is an eid echad asi l'shvua v'lo b'mayna hilkach ein taris mamon be'edusin kol shol heidu b'vas achas. So he says the svara into this din is that if you only are one witness, so you can only mechayev them a shvuah. So therefore, if they come separately, it's like two individuals mechayev a shvuah. You shouldn't be mechayev someone mammon for that reason. Okay. All right. Let's see question TA 9. Tanya Gomer Sadavar Machisan Es Ha'edim Madua V'Hari Kfar Bud Koisam. Understand? We already examined them. So it says Mishum de B'Tchila Hayu Zeshul Rifnei Zeh. It could be they weren't together. Novinin She'idu Ke'echad, and they need to testify together. So that's the idea behind that, which is what we saw over here. That we said, come on. So he said, Elim Labal Dinim. So Machnisna Se'edim. So we said. So let's just find this. El Edim, right? So it's according to Edim. And come on, it's the Loik Rav Nosson. Because Rav Nosson said that Shaimin Devar Shel Zehayim Kshava Chaveru Amachar Shaimin Es Devarav. So this shows that they actually have to, this is TA 9, when it comes to the testimony, they may have testified not in front of each other. And it needs to be that they were made bifneihem. Okay. Kecha. All right, let's continue. Rav Shimon ben Elikim Havi Mishtakin Alehad Rav Yosef Rav Chanina L'mismechei. So he was trying hard for smicha. V'loika Mesiyata Milsa, and he was not successful. He couldn't find success of encountering him. So Yom Echad Havi Yosef came to Rav Yochanan. He was sitting in Rav Yochanan. He said, "Mi ika diyada halacha Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha loy." Does anyone know is the halacha like Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha or not regarding the witnesses seeing at the same time? So Rav Shimon ben Elikim. So he said, "Din yada." This person knows. So Amalei lema ezehu, Amalei lemismachei mar bereisha. So put him first. So Samche, they ordained him. So Amalei b'ni, Amalei ketzad shama, what'd you hear? Amalei kach shemaiti, shemaiti Rabbi Shimon Karcha or Rav Nosson. That Rabbi Shimon Karcha ended up agreeing to the sheet of Rav Nosson. That Rav Nosson said, Shaimin devar shel zehayim, kshav chaver l'machar shaimin es devara. That the testimony could be at separate times. So Amalu hutzrachti. Is this something which you needed? So hashdo ma ikar re'iyah b'hadi adadi. When it comes to seeing which is together, Rabbi Shimon Levi will be inan. You don't have to see the testimony together. So haganim a boy. Of course, you don't have to say the testimony together. It's obvious that he would hold that you wouldn't have to do that. So Amalei hoyel the olis loterid. Since you went up, we don't have to go down. In other words, we're not going to take away your smicha. Once we went up, you're not going to go down. When it comes to a Gabarabba, once he gets smicha, he gets smicha. So even though maybe you wish to change or remove his smicha, don't do it. The halacha is like him with regard to land or metaltalin. What is that? Says Rashi, the person admits that this land is his. And he says, in front of me, he admitted. Also, when it comes to metaltalin, mana. In front of this person, he borrowed money. The amanik masadi high lo masid high, ikomakam turvai masadi shechayev lo imana. So he holds that when it comes to metaltalin, even though you have two separate witnesses that are testifying, it could be they're testifying in different things. It doesn't matter. We can still be mistar. So Oimer halakha Rabbi Shimon Karcha bekarkais. That's mistar of metaltalin, because metaltalin you could be talking about two separate things. Normally by halacha machad plegi. Sounds like there's an argument. I thought everyone agrees when it comes to karka that when it comes to land, it is considered to be an acceptable haidah by two separate people. So, V'tani Rav Idi Baravin B'nezikin de Bekarna Moiden Chacham Rabbi Yishumin Karcha Be'edus Bechor Be'edus Karka Be'edus Chazaka V'chein Shiba Ben V'Shiba Bas. We need a little bit of work over here, but it clearly says that they agree when it comes to Edus Karka, right? So it's a kasha. So Gavar Karamis, Marsa Pligi, Marsa Pligi. So Machlok is where they argue. So let's look at Rashi. So when it comes to Bechayris, says Rashi, Kol Mumin, Haroyin Lavoy B'Yadam, any blemish that can come on a person, Royin Kohanim, Roim Kohanim, Einemanim Loimer Me'elav Nafel by Mumzeh. We don't trust these Kohanim who are shepherds to say that this is where the mum was. Because we're nechshad that the Kohanim are going to put mumin on firstborns, and nowadays. Once you do shchita, then it becomes mutter, because there's no Beis Hamikdash. If you show Bechor to a Chacham, you need two witnesses. Shime'elav nafal b'mum, that felt that the mum happened on its own. It wasn't put by the owner. Im hevi eid echad al mum zev, eid echad al mum acher, b'bechor l'um mitztarfen. If you have two different witnesses, one on one mum and one on the other, it's not mitztarf. So we see, as the Gemara mentions, that that when it comes to Moedim Chachamim Mishum Karcha be'edus Bechor, they agree when it comes to edus Bechor that it is mitzaref. The East the Amr be'edus Bechor leheid lahatir Chacham. Okay, the edus Chazaka ze'omer b'fnei b'fanei yachashnei Chazak shalosh shanim. One person says that he was there for 3 years. He has a chazaka. Rishayna is shel shmita, the beginning of shmita. V'ze'omer b'fnei b'fanei achal shalosh shanish achrayna is 3 other years. That's the they combine. The echad karka misahadi karka mal yasa. V'chein le'inyan shtei sa'aros, the 2 hairs, signs of maturity for a son and a daughter. Fine. So we said Gavra Reb Abba and Rav Ida Adaula. So they argue. Okay. So they this karka ve'edus chazaka v'chein sheba ben sheba bas Gavra karamis marasav lopog. My v'chein sheba ben sheba bas. What's that? Ilema echad omer achas begabah yachas omer achas bekresa. That they're trying to testify that this girl is a gedayla. She said, so one witness says it's on her back, the other one says on her stomach, 1 hair and 1 hair. So hay chatzi davar hu. It's not considered to be full davar. So certainly that would not work. El echad omer shtayim begabah v'achad omer shtayim bekrisa. That one person says there's 2 hairs on her back, the other one says there's 2 hairs on the stomach. So in that situation, is that considered to be chatzi davar? So, according to this opinion, it would not work. We hold like him when it comes to even metaltalin. If you have 2 separate witnesses that are saying about metaltalin, even though you can think that it's talking about 2 separate things, but since they're both talking about a particular amount of money, so therefore he's saying that he owes $100, so that's it. They're mistarf. For Rabban of the Asim and Mechuza Amri Amarav Zer Mishmei Rav Bakarkois in of a lom metaltalin. They're not believed and they're not mitzdarf when it comes to metaltalin. Rav Tamei Rav Hoida Achar Hoida Achar Halva mitzdarfi. Halva Achar Halva Hoida Achar Hoida lo mitzdarfi. Says Rashi. An admission after another admission. Ze'omer bifanai Hoida loy. Almana be'echad b'Shabbos. Za'im refanei hoidaloi la b'sheni b'Shabbos. So that's a hoida achar hoida, or a hoida achar halva. Za'im refanei halvai. in front of me borrowed money on Sunday, then he admits he owes money, it's mistarf. Maybe they're talking about the same amount of money. This could be this exact same thing. And that's the reason why it will be mitzdarf. However, halva, achar hoida, if you say a loan after an admission, manachrina, who could be other monies, v'lo mitzdarfi, and they're not combined. Even though we said he owes money, but in that situation, it may be two separate things. Okay, let's keep on going. Okay. Ashkei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Rav Huna b'Reid Rav Yeshua Amalei Maishna halva achar halva. Understand? A loan after a loan. Deloy doesn't work. The mana the kaha chazi high look chazi high because maybe there were separate loans. So hayda achar hayda nami. Why do we say admission after admission? A mana the kamoida kimi high. You could say the same thing. Maybe they're talking about two different admissions. So haydach or haydan nami amana de kamoida. All they're doing is admitting to the $100. So that's the question. So lahai basra bahai mana the oidile kamoch. This money which is owed before you oidile nami kame ploini. It was already admitted by so and so. So akati bas yadi kamo yadai. The latter guy knows, not the first witness. Then you go back to the first witness and you say, quote, the money you admitted, nami kame ploini. Should rest your mind, his nachas as daiti. My mind is at ease. Mind the Rabba. So what is this calmness? The Rabba v'tem Rav Sheshes Shadiba Narga, he threw this axe. Lav havino haydach or halva. So why do you need two cases to teach the same thing? So this is what he was heard regarding cutting a tree, and replanting them. Mr. Rafais, Kaman Rishim and Karcha. It is always mitzdarf. These two different people, like the sheet of Rabbi Rishim and Karcha, that he holds that everything is mitzdarf, even though it was witnessed at different times. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's look at question 7. Hahi isasa de nafik shtara. We didn't see that yet, so we'll hold off on that. TA 10. Nope. TB 11. Adkan.